Now I welcome Dr. Professor Sneha Palnitkar ma'am. Ma'am is a Chief Executive Officer of the Waste Management Resource Center at ALG Mumbai. She held the position of Director of RCS ALG Mumbai. Also, she holds the PhD in Soil Waste Management. Ma'am also did a Master in Sociology and one of our key resource of ALG. And it's my honor to welcome you, ma'am, here. Thank you so much.
Namaskar, good morning to all of you. I welcome here you from All India Institute of Local Self Government. And, in fact, before I, say something, I would like to ask, 2 or 3, questions for the presentation which was made by Dr. Kulkarni. See, you referred to ALM. ALM was born actually in this hall when Ratnakar Gaikwad was additional commissioner. So, in fact, and he was also AMC for a western suburb. And hence, actually this was born here. We had actually a lot of consultative meeting here. And that time, Mr. M.R. Shah was the chief engineer, solid waste. And Mr. Gaikwad was AMC for a western suburb. So actually this concept was born here. Subsequently, it was taken further by A.K. Jain, who was again, the additional commissioner and who was with us also for 5 years, on the deputation from government of Maharashtra. So ALM was born here. Second point, you mentioned about, the bulk waste generator. Bulk waste generator is not confined, to Mumbai alone. By SWM Rule 2016, it is, actually mandatory for all over country. Only, and see, there are a lot of issues also in the BWG. I'll give you one example. We are doing a lot of campaigning, in some of the wards of the municipal commission, the municipal corporation. Now take, actually, you have, I don't need actually. मला नको आहे हे तुमचं मध्ये लॅपटॉप होता सो बिकॉज आई डोंट नीड ऊपर जाओ okay. See, I haven't got a presentation because I was just informed, a day before, that I am supposed to come here. So, so I have no presentation. Otherwise, I would have glad to do actually a presentation from All India Institute, which has done considerable work, for the last 30 years. I think, we were right from the beginning, see, actually now, coming, to the BWG. So BWG, there are issues. Take, in the ward level, if there is a SRA building, actually it falls under BWG. But we don't, consider it in BWG because you will have political pressure, everything, that you must collect, from SRA. So, there are a lot of, the operational issues, for implementation of the legal provision. See, I was also in the drafting committee of the, the SWM Rule 2016 with the Government of India. And third issue also, particularly ALM. ALM, actually it's not that. I am also active member of my ALM, in Hindu colony. I stay in the other Hindu colony. In fact, in my area, a lot of BMCs, DMC and earlier former IS officers are staying. So, actually we are very active. But, ALM is not operational as it used to be, when Mr. Bhagwat was handling, for a BMC as a OSD. And Seema was also handling, as a OSD. But now it's not that, operational as it used to be. In fact, I gave a lot of, the inputs for this, to the AMC, SWM, recently actually we were out of country, so in fact we were discussing citizens' participation in local governance. And in that, particularly, so ALM requires to be strengthened. But one thing I must tell you also, ALM also should confine their area of operation. They should not go into the political side, at the ward level. There are several issues and why. See, we had a big consultation, in Sahyadri Guest House. And that time, many of the local representatives, elected, those who were present, they say we don't want ALM. Because they saw it's a parallel leadership, at the local level. And issues were getting more complicated than, actually solving the issues at the local level. So I think ALMs also, it's a good concept. I am also actively involved, but we should have clear-cut demarcation. Several ALMs, they have political, again, aspirations. And this we have seen because, I have interacted quite well. In fact, we have conducted here, a big study, somewhere in, say, about 15 years back. And we have conducted all ALMs, and in fact, in the same hall, we had 3, conferences of ALM. And we discuss in detail, all the issues, that what are the issues, when you talk, the people and the local governance. ALM is a good concept. But, see, with that, Bhagidari came, in Delhi, Janagraha came in Bangalore, because we were involved quite a lot from Institute, in the Janagraha formation as well as Bhagidari, basically all the conferences. That time Sheila Dikshit was the CM, and we had a lot of conferences, in Delhi also, discussing, how to operationalize, Bhagidari at local level. Now, see, we discuss here actually, now I'd like to, in fact, sort of my reaction, to the presentation. And the third angle, the dry waste collection and the wet waste collection. See, we are doing a lot of campaigning, actually campaigning we are doing from society to society, slum to slum, SRA to SRA, BWG to BWG. Now, what we have realized, see, we, one thing, people must segregate, the waste. It is not difficult, to segregate the waste. See, when I live in Singapore, I live in US, I very proudly give example here, my son, he does this, in US, but here you are a zero. So basically, citizens also require to be disciplined, to segregate the waste. See, we don't follow laws, we are not bothered, because nobody is punishing me. Solid waste, I am not paying upfront any money to corporation. See, when we live abroad, we had to pay, the per. I studied in, Europe, and when I studied, we used to pay that time, 80 guilders I used to pay, in Holland for a one bin. Weekly only collection. And we used to minimize, see, the minimize the waste tendency, starts happening from there. When you directly feel the pinch, here what, I'm not bothered, BMC is not directly, you take the property tax, detail. There is only, sewerage operation, sewerage benefit. If you take the taxation, the entire thing. See, we have done extensive study here in institute, about, the whole dissection of how the municipal, the taxation is done. Need not be Mumbai, for all over Maharashtra. And we have realized, when you are not directly paying, that, now how we are particular expressway, if I drive, more than 60, I am paid 2,000 fine immediately. I have no, argument on that. So I am very disciplined. I'll tell even my driver, be careful, it's, the 60 here, don't go 63. I have paid many times 2,000 rupees because just for a 2 or 3, crossing there, which I never realized. So this kind of, we say fining is a good for actually governance. And so, for solid waste management, collection system, I think, only 1 or 2 people are here, because I work very closely, with BMC. In fact, right now I am taking the entire almost, the BMC's ground functionaries to Indore. My first batch is just back today. And I'm taking almost 500, the officials, from the SWM, to Indore. So basically, if you take it, wet waste, yes, everyday compactor is, collecting it in the morning. Dry waste quantum is not there that much to provide, actually service, daily. And we can easily keep it at home. See, only for wet waste or, the biomedical, the rule says 48 hours you can, keep it at home. But means at, the storage point. But dry waste, I am doing regularly, at home. There are several startups, which are there who are only collecting, in fact, my area, I use BMC dry waste collection as well as there is a private sector startup, Bintex. Free service. Very systematic, everything, on the particularly app, you can actually book, your slot, on the particularly app. They come, collect, they give bin, they give the plastic bag, which is required for that. We religiously, actually keep at home, the dry waste. Because see, it's not only throwing off by my house. We should have a social, concern that my dry waste is providing a livelihood to somebody. That's, our concept. We never think so. See, it's once it out of my house, I'm very, clean in my house. But, we take it that issue, and when we do campaigning, actually, we tell people that your waste is actually survival for somebody. And that's what we try to focus. And see, I'm not talking anything here, as a sort of a book or, the reference. This I'm actually doing. I also lead, another NGO, in Bandra. If you have any time visited a Bandra, our office, that building belongs, to Center for the Study of Social Change. I am a vice president of that. There we have started a unit, by which we are actually using, the waste. We have started a project, Waste to Wealth. We are actually doing this. And BMC is only, your additional commissioner is very helpful to me, in doing these social initiatives. I have worked with him earlier also. So, basically looking, you referred, to your study. Because I have studied SWM department, SWM as such extensively from 92. We started here, this particularly working on waste management when Mr. Attarwala was the director of, solid waste management for BMC. That time BMC's chief engineer post was called as a director SWM. And the first manual was prepared by us. I learnt, that actually. I had just finishing my PhD that time. So I used to be very, and that time I remember Mr. Kotnis, who was the chief engineer, subsequently became DMC, very excellent, teacher, for particularly solid waste management. I learnt a lot of things from him. And basically, see, so I saw, all the findings, there. It requires, a lot of actually disciplining the citizens also. And then, sort of a system development. You should have a matching system, see, if I am say, by 216 rules, if we say, yes, you do wet, dry and domestic hazardous, provide, that kind of parallel system, for a collection. Indore is providing that, and have citizens watch for that. Okay, see, if you particularly collect it, get the signature. Indore is doing the same. In fact, for a BMC, I am suggesting go for a micro-planning for each, sort of the ward, which, will be very effective. We were involved in Indore. I went for an appraisal of Indore several occasions, under Swachh Bharat. We actually sort of, advocated, the cause of that. The more decentralized, system you make, actually you will succeed, more. And that's, what actually the basic thing. Here Mumbai also. See, Mumbai has, 31,000, conservancy worker. Out of that, 6,000 women. And then, see, but operations are handled at local level. We have done we have mapped actually everything BMCs. I have got footage of, video clipping, for BMC. And we actually, sort of when we do study, we videograph everything, everything. I can show you a lot of footage actually how the whole operation works, how the waste is collected, how the citizens behave, how, it goes, from the storage to disposal. And what are the in-between, disposal levels. So, from that angle, actually, that is only a response to, your presentation. I have a couple of few, because I also extensively studied, last 30 years, the entire system. And because of that, I don't want to take more time on that, because I think I'm asked, to give a presidential, talk, but, I couldn't resist my temptation, to offer my comment, for presentation. Basically, I'm coming from the academic side, but I'm not only academic sitting, in the classroom and teaching, no. So basically from that point, actually, All India Institute also, those who are present here, those who are with BMC or those who occasionally visit, All India, may or may not know the fully All India Institute. Actually, All India, see, we all know what we are discussing currently. It has got, I can recap actually, because I was involved right from the day one in the whole this initiative. See, we started all what we are discussing now about, particularly related, to environment. So you may have, all the issues what we take it, up to climate change. Now, if we take it that, we all agree, they started with EPI 86, from that everything was, born. Actually, it got a momentum, in 92. when the Earth Summit, was held. In fact, I was, the part of the delegation, Prime Minister delegation in Rio. I was there for 4 weeks, in Rio. I was part of all the caucus, which were there, for Earth Summit. And all those platforms, what we now take equally, take CityNet, take, UCLG aspect. If you take it, all the platforms, the international level, which are debating now, climate change issues were all born there. In fact, that time actually even for India, see, in fact for India also, we were part of all different, caucus, there. These issues, I remembered, I'm talking after 30 years now, so these issues actually, they started, momentum there. And so it went on there. So India also, in fact, we were signatories, to all. If you see all the, we have ratified all the conventions also under that. And because of that, after that, actually for a solid waste also, the whole thing started, with Almitra Patel's PIL, in the Supreme Court. I must tell you, Almitra Patel drafted her PIL sitting in our library. And because I think on solid waste management, we have maximum books, in our library. We have more than 36,000 volumes, in our library. Very few people use it, that is another part. But basically she drafted her PIL here after her return from Canada. And she made, the respondent to all the central government, state government, and all the corporations. And I was taken, as a senior researcher, basically with the Ministry of, because Supreme Court, well, when they give us some judgment, they become, law for us. So actually, Ministry, constituted a committee, for a Supreme Court to, under Asim Burman, who was then the Commissioner Calcutta, under his, the chairmanship, S.R. Rao, Gujarat, Commissioner, he was also Surat Commissioner. He was also, particularly member of that. I was a researcher. We had a Bharat Darshan. In fact, we visited all the corporations in the country to study. And with that, actually, the India also, we started getting momentum, particularly. Sorry, that I'm recapping that because it has got now some significance, what we are talking now under climate change. And basically, because we are actively involved with the Government of India for a climate change initiatives. In fact, Dr. Salvi is here. He was also, part of some of the, actually interface, with the local, the municipal corporation for issues related to the climate change. And from that actually, see, if you take it, it started, 1999, the report came, for a Supreme Court constituted committee, which subsequently provided input for MSW 2000, then with compliance criteria, which we never, actually, if you take it, I don't think we met all the compliance criteria. We went further, then again, sort of like, super specialties, it came, particularly biomedical waste, so 97, again, same, All India Institute was the first one to do, the study which served, as a purpose, for a 97 draft rules for a biomedical waste. In the same wall, Girish Gokhale was a municipal commissioner, Mumbai. We did extensive study. All the, biomedical waste generators were studied. Even now, the report is available, in our library. And it was supported by Minister of Environment. Suresh Prabhu was that time Honorable Minister, for Environment. And Anand Kulkarni, he was actually the secretary, to the environment. Same auditorium. We released the, in fact, CM that time he came and, I think if I'm not wrong, Vilasrao Deshmukh was CM that time. It was released here, the report. We had extensive, discussion here, which subsequently became the 98, the biomedical waste, the rules, for that. Subsequent amendment to 2000 again, 2002. Because all those amendments were also discussed in this hall. So after that, actually, the compliance, we started, then we got, plastic, the usage rule, 99 came, again, the 2000 rules, 2000 after we moved, we actually started moving on that. In between, we had service level benchmarks. which actually contains all what we are discussing now, for your Mumbai presentation also, because Mumbai's entire service level benchmark report was done by the institute. I was only handling, in fact, that for a BMC. Mr. Subodh Kumar was that time municipal commissioner, and Raju Jalota, he was the additional commissioner. We have done that in same auditorium. We released that report, here when Mr. Prithviraj Chauhan was CM. And basically from that, see, for India, I'm talking as a, here, India, I'm not talking here city-centric, basically, but we moved, from there. And then, actually 2014, Swachh Bharat mission came. First time the cleanliness, something mission mode came. We were there for a launch, we were there for preparatory meetings, and with that it was realized that yes, you have to revisit again, the MSW 2000. So 2016, we had all, 5, 6 rules, of different, sort of the waste management rule, which we are now, using as a benchmark, to actually see where my system stands. Yes, we have certain amendments, to 2020, we have 2022, we had amendments, but basically those and SLBs, those both, we are using it as, actually benchmarks, for which again has, sort of the sync, with the climate change initiative by the Ministry of Environment and the Forest. And so, basically all these, they have several routings, actually, in different, see, we have beautiful legal and institutional framework. Our problem is, the implementation at local level. We can't compare Mumbai, with other cities, in the country also, barring few. But, see, Mumbai is a standalone corporation which handles everything on their own. Water supply is handled. You refer to Bhandup, we show every, the visitor, foreign or Indian, Bhandup complex. But basically, if you take it, sort of this is not the situation what Mumbai is, the other places. They have finance officials, working with them. But, so from that point, actually, if we see that several initiatives, what we discussed, actually yesterday, if you have heard, yesterday's budget, now they are providing, for, if you take it, the solar energy concept. What was introduced in yesterday's budget, thing. It has again, the link, to your green, sort of the initiative. And if it really works out that way, it's a tremendous, actually benefit, particularly even for a segment of different, segment of population which is going to be benefited from that. So there are several initiatives in yesterday's, budget, which has a link again, to what we call, sort of the clean initiatives. Even institutionally, we work closely on the green building concept also. And here means we actually worked, on the operational side, need not be only capacity building. You all must be knowing that All India Institute, in 2 years, we are going to celebrate 100 years. And because Institute was born in 1926. And then, see, from there actually, and the solid waste management, or if you take even liquid waste management, if you take, the several initiatives, particularly coming under climate change, I think we are one of the pioneer institutions doing not only research, for a library purpose, but to operationalize. We work closely, even with the local government. Preparation of DPR is, one point. But now, in fact, many corporations, they say you get involved, in operationalize the DPR. And that's what, in fact, our idea, to take it further, the roadmap for the institute also on the several, fronts, which has again direct impact, to the environment issues. We talk about, in fact, several issues. Ultimately what, we want a good quality of life, for a citizen, that our, the bottom line for every initiative. And from that point, actually, in fact, we are working on several, issues, but one thing is also, we should not miss out, there, that we should also take it, all these environmental factors link, to the social concerns. Ultimately, these initiatives we are bringing, for a people. So people also, they should be people-centric, and people require also to be involved. As a citizen, am I doing that? We should all ask that question to ourselves. Am I really segregating? Yes, you can segregate. I am doing that. It's not, see, first few days you may find it difficult, but ultimately, it's a habit with you. And you can cultivate, that kind of habit. I always, when we do campaign, I don't blame BMC at all the time. See, people, everything, people have tendency, blame, the corporation. But it's not so. Who is corporation? You and me are ultimately corporation. Building is not operating the system. And from that point, even citizens' role or a stakeholder's role also requires to be emphasis, for any kind of, the technique, technology, or, any, sort of the new solution which you are trying to evolve, for anything. You mentioned, about the water meter. In fact, that because that also we work on 24/7. So, when we work for a 24/7, metering was a major concept. In fact, we had a lot of discussion with Mr. Prithviraj Chavan, who was then, Science and Technology Minister, in the Government of India. And subsequently, he became CM, and in fact, same again auditorium, we had a lot of discussion on that. Similarly, recently, clean fuel. Mr. Nitin Gadkari Sahib, see, it is with the, when I read All India Institute collaboration, but I say, I don't see anything All India there. So, see, no, see, sorry to say, but because I have spent my almost 40 years of life here, so I have a good sort of a this thing for my own institution. So, basically, thank you very much, for inviting me here, and I'm thankful to Phatak that he couldn't make it today here, so I'm here. So I'm here, and once again, thank you very much, and have a good, workshop here. And from institutionally, we'll definitely, whatever, I think this study was supported by the institute. But I just wanted to know, is BMC taking those suggestions? Are you pushing that with BMC? But you should push. See, you have to play an advocacy role. BMC, nothing happens. If you give a one letter, nothing happens. By the time same chief engineer, second one is there, another AMC is there, another DMC is there. So you have to really play an advocacy role, including political. See, I have a good equations with all the political leaders because we do also political training. We do MLA training, we do, corporator training. In fact, fortunately, even our present CM, DCM, their first day entry, I was the, first day speaker in their respective corporations. So we have a good, see, for any reforms, you bring anything, you require a same time, the political, advocacy also. It's not only the, sort of, okay, ultimately officials only do that, but you require, the blessings at top. And that also, convincing, thing that why I want to bring this reform. This is what I learned in the All India Institute. See, I came from abroad and joined All India Institute. But I learned, how you manage, the urban governance here. So, that's the thing. Anyway, thank you very much again.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this inspiring presidential address.